just be mindful of, the technology that's being used to scan your document, and also don't pay it lip service. Don't do it just for the sake of doing it. I'm often quite surprised by some of the people that I deal with whose job it is to create sales documents that have a rubbish CV. And I'm just like, dude, you create this for a living. Don't do yourself a disservice and pay this lip service and just whack some words on a page. This is a sales document where you are selling yourself to a potential employer as a solution to their problem, and take that approach.
Hey, it's Natasha.
And I'm Pauline.
We're so pumped to bring you even bigger and better stuff this season 2 of Career Reshaped.
We've got new guests, free masterclasses, and all the good vibes you'll only find here.
So don't forget to hit subscribe, follow us on Spotify at Career Reshaped,
and check us out on Instagram at my.career.angels. The thing is that a resume is a very unique document. There's nothing like a resume out there, and it's just like a job interview. As soon as people feel like they've got to talk about themselves in a very different way, they change who they are. So you're right, it's a sales document. It's really no different from any other sales document other than just the way it's laid out. And even though a person might be amazing at creating documents and sales documents, something when it comes to the CV, they fall apart. Same can be said for an interview. You can meet with someone and you have good rapport and banter and they're really personable. And as soon as they step into an interview environment, they morph into somebody else. They freeze up. They can't speak. But it's just another conversation.
Agreed. And look, don't get me wrong. When I built my last recruitment agency at our peak, we were about 20 staff, and I was interviewing recruiters on a regular basis when I was building my team. And I was shocked personally at how many experienced recruiters had absolutely rubbish CVs. I was like, really? You do this for a living. You have seen hundreds or thousands of CVs. How is this what you've come up with? Each to their own and what have you. But, that's why it's important to make sure that you do have a very well-structured CV. As a matter of fact, I had to create my own CV. I had to format and create my own CV when I was looking to expand into Japan, and I set up a Japan office in 2019. Part of the requirements for me to get a recruitment license in Japan was that I had to provide my CV to the Department of Employment, or whatever it's called, over in Japan, so that they could look at me and go, okay, well, is this person worthy, if you like, of receiving a license, right? So, even I had to go through that process.
And how did it go? Did you struggle?
I did, right? So, yeah. make no mistakes. I did struggle, but at the same time, the fundamentals were there. It was role, responsibilities, achievements and accomplishments, condense, make it look nice, and send. So, just writing director of this business, what the business does, and then, owner of this business, what the business does, it just doesn't cut the mustard when you're going through an interview process and looking to actually get a job. Obviously, what I was looking to do was just simply give a very high level understanding of why I qualify for a license. But again, it was a sales document. They could have, if I oversimplified it, they may have rejected my application, and then I, would be in a more precarious position. So, I get it.
So a lot of people then seek help for writing a resume. They come to coaches, resume writers, but they also at times use ChatGPT.
GPT.
Yeah. GPT, thank you. So can you tell when someone hasn't written their own, when then you talk to them, like, this is not the same language you used, or it doesn't feel as authentic or genuine?
Not really, to be honest. I've never paid much attention to the formatting, and because the reality is, as a recruiter, well, at least in my industry, in my role as a headhunter, because I'm targeting people, I know what to expect from that CV, and then I'm putting context around it. So as long as it's giving me the basics and the things that I need, it's okay. If I was putting job ads up and screening CVs, would I notice it? I don't know that I would. For many, many, many years, long before ChatGPT and similar type of tools are out there, there was always a particular format of CV that you would just see consistently, and you look at it and go, oh yeah, it's another one of those format. You just visually, it looks identical to hundreds of other ones. So they must be using some sort of template, some sort of format that's put in the details, and it will spit it out using this format. The trick, like I said, is to have the right information and data in there, the right keywords in there, and then the rest comes down to conversations.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this topic, we just wanted to check in and say that if you believe that you need some assistance and that we could help you, reach out to us today, check out our website, join our newsletter. We'd love to be in touch.
We wanted to quickly mention that subscribing to the podcast is the best way to support the show and ensure you never miss an episode. It's super easy. Just click the subscribe button whenever you're listening. Thanks for tuning in. I personally don't mind ChatGPT. I find that it knows what it's talking about in a very basic way. It doesn't necessarily go into a lot of detail. So you still obviously need to fill in the gaps. The important thing is that you know what information is needed and where. And the output really is only as good as the input. ChatGPT can only give you the right stuff, and the good stuff is if you feed it the right information. But if you don't know what information to feed, then you are going to be still limited. So it's
that's 100% correct. It's a large language model, right? It's inputs, outputs, it's data in, data out. I would recommend if somebody is a good LinkedIn user but doesn't have a CV, then you can absolutely feed your LinkedIn profile into ChatGPT and say, using this LinkedIn profile, please format and create a CV for me, and it will spit out just about what you've got on your LinkedIn profile. And again, if you've done a good enough job with a LinkedIn profile, the CV should be good. But again, look, I've used ChatGPT to write job ads, for example, right? When I've posted job ads in the past, what it spits out is not specifically what I'm going to put out there, but it does give me a framework. It does fill in some of those gaps. But for me personally, and people that are using it for their CV aren't going to be using it the way that I do. For example, if I was to, with ChatGPT and those sorts of large language models, you can teach it to learn your style, your intonations, all of those different things that eventually it'll get to a point where it will spit it out the way you spit it out, right? But if it's using it for a CV, it's a single-use application, so it's just not going to do that. You just can't train it to spit out your CV. It takes too long. You may as well just write the CV.
I do find it somewhat limiting. Like, I do use ChatGPT for ideas, and then you're right, it is a great framework. Like, I've used it for our online courses, for example. I'm like, what do I call it? I want it to be really creative, really catchy, and my mind, so I asked ChatGPT to give me some names, ideas, and I don't like them. I said, no, give me another list. Comes up with another list, slightly better, don't like it. And it just starts repeating the same information. So it still is going to be somewhat limited and basic in the language and in the information you can give. There still needs to be your personal creativity that comes into it. And so then you can use some of those words that could trigger something, your imagination. There is something still to the human touch, the human mind, because I can see a pattern with the way it communicates, the language it uses, and it's not creative, I would be honest with you. So I think that if you do want your resume to stand out in terms of someone that does read the resume, because like you said earlier, you've got some of your clients that want to see your resume and will judge, others that are mine. So the thing is, you don't know who's really reading it and what's going to be relevant to them. So it is better to have a good resume, a resume that represents you. So that also means the way you communicate, obviously in a professional way, and invest that time in there and have it not read, then spit out a very basic, something that ChatGPT has given you, and then someone reading it and be like, I've seen this before. Like you were saying, I've seen this template, I've seen this.
And to my point from before, ChatGPT isn't going to know, again, looking at a salesperson, they're not going to know your sales targets, your achievements against targets, your key accounts, the data and information that I mentioned. For technical people, it's not going to know what are your technical skills, what's your tech stack, can it build a a technology matrix or a skills matrix? It can't do any of that because it doesn't have that information. So again, those sorts of tools are good tools to create a framework for what does it look like, how do we separate the roles and what have you, and then you can go in there and actually make it usable.